The following prescribed is transcribed.
Welcome to the Unusual Minds Very Hairy Halloween special featuring the Mummy and the Monkey.
What wasn't, cousins?
That is right. We have the Cleveland horror hosts featuring or following a rich tradition that spans over 50 years. They host cheesy B-movies on their Facebook page Friday nights, and they also host the YouTube show The Hairy Scary Hangout, as well as being staples around the horror and Comic-Con scene. Mummy, Monkey, thanks for coming on the show with me.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thanks. It's great to be here, and we love the Halloween season. This is our favorite time of year. But with us, Halloween's like year-round.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know. I feel like with every true horror fan, Halloween is always year-round. You keep it in your hearts with you.
Oh, definitely. Yes, of course. Even if you don't have a heart, you keep it in there somewhere, right?
And I don't know, when I had first came across you guys, you were recommended to me by 42nd Street Pete. And, I'd mentioned that I wanted to do a Halloween follow-up show. And, we were talking about some zombie movies or something along those lines. But he had mentioned you guys, and, I'm a big fan of horror hosts. I love the tradition. I figured Halloween is the perfect time to sit down and talk with you guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah, and thanks to 42nd Street Pete. We actually help him with his YouTube channel. Every week or so, I'll upload one of his videos.
Yeah. He's got a great firsthand experience with that kind of scene. And, I don't know, my generation, we had to kind of go to the video store and kind of find those little gems, but he was able to see them in theaters, which was great.
Yeah, plus he has a gift of gab. I mean, Pete could make, a phone book sound interesting, He just, he's an interesting spin on things.
Very descriptive and goes into detail about things.
Colorful language,
Oh, very colorful, yes.
And I don't know. So pretty much this show's going to be like it is usually, folks. We're going to just do an open forum, and we're just going to nerd out on some horror because, it's that time of the year. So I wanted to touch base with you because, Janet, you were originally a horror host on TV in 2013?
Yes. It just ran for 1 year in 2013 on Time Warner Cable in Cleveland and surrounding suburbs. But yeah, I hosted the Daughter of the Ghouls show, and just ran for 1 year, but that's okay. I was able to meet Monkey Man that way.
Well, that was the daughter of the Cleveland Ghouls, so you were kind of like a son of Svengoolie in that regard.
Yeah, and you know what? I got a lot of crap for it, honestly. There were people. First of all, it wasn't really my show. The producer, his name is Daniel Kristancic. He actually put the show together and had the idea of having a female host it, but then having other characters show up too. So I helped him host it, and Grim helped behind the scenes. He helped with some of the skits, and he showed up as the monkey for several bits too. But yeah, people were going, "Oh, you're just riding the Ghouls' coattails, and who do you think you are?" I was just helping host a show.
Yeah, there was actually a time when I was trying to, get Danny to maybe change the name of the show because we know how sacred the name the Ghoul and Ghoulardi here is in Cleveland, and and even the Ghoul himself had some falling out with the Son of Ghoul, who he named Son of Ghoul in a lookalike contest that the Ghoul held in the late 70s.
Okay.
And the guy took off with it and got his own TV show, and then the Ghoul turned around and tried to sue him for using the name Ghoul, and it's really weird.
Yeah, there was this whole thing with Ghoul and Son of Ghoul, and
so the Ghoul himself, Ron Sweet, was very protective of his brand, even though he did his own take on his on Ghoulardi, who was Cleveland's first breakthrough horror host.
Yeah. But,
so in the 60s.
But actually, the one before Ghoulardi, his name was Mad Daddy, Pete Myers, and he was more popular on radio. He was a radio DJ. And hosted movies for a little while, but it just didn't.
Maybe a month or two in 1958, and it wasn't until 63 when Ghoulardi came around. Ernie Anderson. Yeah, and anyway, but going back to the Ghoul and all that, so it was very tricky to sort of, I thought it was tricky for him to call the show The Daughter of the Ghoul, because people would come at, probably just right after you, and they did. They never talked to Danny. The fans
would ask, "Are you really Ron Sweet's daughter?"
Yeah.
And then the Ghoul groupies would be like, "Oh, you're just copying. You're just riding his coattails." And it's like, I'm just helping host a show. It's not my show. It wasn't my idea to name it that. But
yeah,
we had a lot of fun while it lasted. And after the show was canceled in 2014, the producer wanted to work on wrestling videos and do other things. We decided to join forces and create our own thing.
Now that's beautiful though, because you're keeping that tradition alive as fans at this point, and that is phenomenal. It's almost like the fandom kind of reclaiming its thing.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and frankly, we just had nothing else better to do with our time. No, we both grew up. I'm a little bit older than Janet, so I can go back a little further and growing up in Cleveland and seeing a lot of this stuff transpire. You caught like the tail end of it.
Yeah, the 80s and 90s where, Big Chuck and Little John and the Ghoul. You guys in Chicagoland have Svengoolie. So.
Yeah, Rich. Yeah, it's, I don't know. I love just like the tradition of new characters coming along and just kind of like fitting in with, the aesthetic of what the previous host laid down, and just kind of, I don't want to say expand the universe, but, it just expands out the brand. And, you said now the first guy, you said he wasn't Ghoulardi, he was the second, correct?
The first. I'm sorry. Say that again.
Technically, in Cleveland, the horror host history type of thing, like who was first. All that. Yeah, technically, the first horror host in Cleveland was Mad Daddy Myers. He called himself Pete Myers. He was a radio personality. If you look up Pete Myers or Mad Daddy on YouTube, there's a lot of his air checks that are really, really cool. He's got this really unique echo chamber sound with his voice, kind of like Wolfman Jack would do.
Yeah.
And he was super fast at coming up with rhymes and then doing really crazy.
Wavy Gravy and all these little
He'd come up with really fast, crazy rhymes and stuff like that. But he did a show called The Mad Daddy for roughly maybe a few months in Cleveland. It did not go over well in 1958. Fast forward to 1963. Ernie Anderson was pulled by TV8 to do a character, to come up with a character to host a movie package that they got, a horror movie package. Thought they'd give it a go. And he created that beatnik character, Ghoulardi. And that ran for 3 years in Cleveland, only 3 years, from 1963 to 1966. But let's put it this way, a third of Cleveland's population would watch him on Friday night. Police said the crime went down on Friday nights in Cleveland because even the crooks would want to watch him. But he dominated, Cleveland airwaves, and even to this day, they have for the past 20 years, they have like a yearly show in October called Ghoulardi Fest, and it's everything Cleveland media, but it's named after him. It's droves of people come out, thousands come out.
It's like weekend. Cleveland TV nostalgia, and then people who remembered Ghoulardi.
And if any of us wear a T-shirt or something with Ghoulardi on it, every time it doesn't even matter, never fails. At least one person will stop and go, "Hey, you're not old enough," or "No, I remember Ghoulardi. How do you know that?"
It's usually like the older folks, or maybe like the kids of the people who remember Ghoulardi.
It's weird, but
or people that know that history. Yeah,
he's still living. And if you didn't know, Ghoulardi what he did. He's left Cleveland in the late '60s and went on to Hollywood to become the voice of ABC in the '70s. And in the 80s, he did a lot of promos he was a super
the Channel
popular
5,
voiceover guy.
Okay.
Like Saturday morning cartoons, he would do like the in-between spots. Coming up next.
Tonight on the Love Boat.
Yeah.
That kind of guy. He did the big announcer. He's a huge announcer, got paid. He didn't even know how much he made, he said, on gigs. He would just go in, and he lived in a very nice home at the time. Probably he was a millionaire, not here, but when he went to California, he just would just text and just do his voices and do some voiceovers and be done with it. But he passed away in '96, right, Ghoulardi?
97. Yeah, and originally he wanted to pursue an acting career in movies. I think there was 1 or 2 movies he appeared in, and I don't remember the names right now.
They're
But
small movies.
he had
Small
trouble
roles.
remembering his lines. So he was better at doing the voiceover work where he could just read off a piece of paper.
And the ironic thing about Ernie is that he kind of like always wanted to, he would always talk about that he just wanted that one little role in a movie that he could be remembered by. Meanwhile, in Cleveland anyway, he has not been forgotten since 1963.
He's legendary, and he didn't really think much of the whole Ghoulardi bit. To him, it was not a big deal, but to the people here, it was like, you know, he was king.
Yeah.
So the Ghoul and Rich Kaz almost, the Ghoul's real name is Ron Swede, they almost share a similar story in that Rich Kaz would write for the original guy that played Svengoolie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jerry Bishop was the original Svengoolie, and you know, same with Ghoulardi. He got going in like, you know, late 60s, early 70s, I believe. But what was great about that generation of horror hosts was the package that they had just had all those English horror films and all the big Japanese monster movies. I mean, some of the most prime B movies were in that collection.
And at that time, stations and the general public just thought they weren't anything. Now those things are very hard to get as a movie package. They're more expensive because they're schlocky and people know. Yeah, but back then it was like they were just trying to get rid of these things and show them somewhere, you know.
Well, you have to think too, this was before your VCRs. This was before like your Netflix, your YouTube. Yeah. So, hey, I'm not going to the movies tonight. What movie are they playing on TV? You know, that's what people watching, had. There was no internet.
You had about maybe 4 to 5 channels at that time.
Yeah.
Well, that and so many films back then were just limited release, primarily like those foreign giant monster films. It's the only way people would have been exposed to that kind of media.
That's true. Very true.
Good point.
So I guess, I guess then you said that those packages are hard to get in contract with now. So when you guys host your movies, what kind of B movies do you stick with? Mostly public domain stuff?
Yes. Thank goodness for
public domain. Public domain movies. We check to see if there's a copyright on it or whatever, and then sometimes we do get independent film studios where we get permission to play their movies. Like we did get to play Revenge of the Spacemen, and that's a trauma film I actually starred in back in 2013.
Oh wow.
That was awesome to host a movie I was in.
And the trick there is we can only keep it up for as long as they allow us to, and then we'll take it down.
Yeah, after so many days, we took it off of our
whatever
page.
They say.
Yeah, because they were trying to promote the Blu-ray sales.
Now, the interesting thing about what you just asked about is the public domain movie. So that's the trick thing with this whole, whether you're a horror host on the internet or on, you know, broadcast television, if you're showing public domain, a lot of people have seen these movies over and over again that are fans of this genre, right?
Yeah.
So the trick is, how do you make them funny? Well, Ghoulardi back in the 60s, and the Ghoul when he took over for Ghoulardi, basically, because he was enamored with him as a kid, actually helped Ghoulardi around the studio, and then when he left, he said, hey, let me do the shtick. And Ghoulardi said, well, I own the character, they own the name, the station owns the name, so call yourself the Ghoul or something and go ahead, have fun. So that's what Ron Swede did for a long time. Ron Swede just passed away last year, or 2 years ago, actually.
Was it 2 years already?
Yeah, it's been 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyway, but they would make the movies interesting by placing themselves in the movie sometimes, or adding sound effects from TV shows and comedians, and, you know, sound bites, you know, like when someone gets hit in the head, they put like a Hanna-Barbera, you know, sound effect, you know, a boing, whatever, or funny clips, like you can tell it's Archie Bunker, you know, will you shut up, you know, that kind of stuff.
And Big Chuck Shadowski, who later on hosted Big Chuck and Little John and Big Chuck and Houlihan, he put all that, he did all those effects for Ghoulardi.
He was,
oh really?
He did the engineering.
Yeah, Chuck Shadowski was Ghoulardi's engineer in the 60s, and Chuck was working behind the scenes at the time and never really wanted to go in front of the camera. Well, Ernie got him in front of the camera, and then it was just from there on out, you know, so they were on the air in Cleveland for close to 50 years.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they still play, they still have a half-hour skit show.
Big Chuck and Little John.
Yeah, Big Chuck and Little John do, I think late at night on Sundays. This is a little half-hour bit show.
So back to the movies really quick to finish up what I was saying. So we kind of pay homage to some of these, you know, I know it's a nice name for ripoff, but no one's really doing that. If you watch a lot of other horror hosts out there, some do sound effects and some don't. I love doing it. I grew up watching The Ghoul, and I loved the sound effects, and I just always wanted more. So we really put a ton of sound. I mean, I might overdo it sometimes, but
I
can't help myself.
So many burps and farts and just all kinds of goofy stuff.
Yeah, I just have all the stuff I've pulled from over the years from different sources. I don't use any. I do use a few of the ones that Ghoul used, but just recently. But most of 99.9% of the sound effects I've pulled from different sources, talk shows, shows, you name it, movies.
Yeah.
But anyway,
some of them you even made yourself.
Well, sure I did. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So when you make sound effects, do you actually like get yourself a little soundproof room and get your condenser mic out?
No. I was doing this back in the day. I mean, she's talking about some bodily sound effects I would record. Just the good old fashioned micro cassette or whatever I had at the time, put it on the chair and go to town. After Taco Bell, see what happens. But you recorded some burps for me yesterday, so don't be so modest.
Hey, you're supposed to tell anyone that.
The secret's out.
Yeah, sometimes burps happen, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna record that."
Another Taco Bell moment. And seriously, that's the truth.
Yeah, no more Taco Bell for a while.
So with all the movies that you guys watch, primarily like a lot of these, like, deep cuts that the majority of people, if they're just stumbling into horror, they're just getting into that genre they probably haven't seen before. What's a few of them that really stand out that you were actually surprised by?
Surprised in what way? How bad they were or how good they were?
Like
how good they were. We'll go to how good they were first.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of bad ones.
Yeah, okay.
Plan 9. Plan 9. That's one of my favorite bad movies.
And that's the one that always gets panned as the worst movie. Okay,
it isn't the worst.
It's probably technically a bad movie.
No. Astro Zombies is way worse than.
I mean, when I saw Plan 9 for the first time, I'm like, why are people saying this is a bad movie? There's nothing wrong. I mean, there's
a certain charm to it where it's enjoyable.
He was trying so hard.
And it's so fun to watch.
Yeah, and it's not boring. The worst movies, no matter what the genre, are the ones that are just you wish that you would could get your time back.
Like Manos.
You get angry, like why I could have been sleeping. I could have been doing anything, watching paint dry. Seriously, this is that. No, Manos: The Hands of Fate, still not the worst movie I've ever seen.
What about Teenage Zombies?
Teenage Zombies?
That one's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It had a few cool effects, but...
Is it worse than Teenage Cavemen?
That's pretty bad, too. Some of Corman's movies, I'm sorry, weren't so great. I didn't think they were so great, but...
some of them are bad. Like
Night of the Blood Beast, that was kind of weird.
Night of the Blood Beast is bad. The ones that really stand out by Corman in those early days for me were either was it Attack of the Crab Monsters and the Wasp Woman.
I love Wasp Woman.
Yeah, Wasp Woman's good.
I watch that one all the time. That and Little Shop of Horrors I like a lot.
Yeah, that one's really funny.
That movie, by the way, I added sound effects to that one not too long ago, and that was difficult because you don't realize how many jokes are written into the script. It's all like just dark humor, very bizarre. It's a send up of horror movies. There's nothing serious about it. There's a lot of some like ethnic stuff going on between if you're familiar with some of that New York lingo in that, or even where this was supposed to happen in California, Skid Row. But still, those some of the ethnic people around the time that were there.
Yeah.
It was just interesting how they were kind of just throwing that kind of stuff around, and but it was a good. That's a good move.
It's a good cheesy movie.
Yeah, I've always loved Little Shop and then you get to see Jack Nicholson pretty much in his first
acting role.
Yeah, pretty much, because he'd go on to do all those what were those Edgar Allan Poe movies with Corman later on.
He did The Terror with Karloff, and some other stuff, and then he did the biker movies, and I think that's what took him off there. I think it got kind of crazy, but surprisingly good movies. Yeah, I mean those are I was some of the Corman stuff.
What else? Satanic Rites of Dracula was pretty good.
That's kind of Hammerish, right? That's a Hammer movie.
It was, but I think it was one of those that was
low-end Hammer movie.
Yeah.
Well, what a bizarre. One of our favorites, and ever since I was a kid, was Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
Ooh, that's an awesome movie. Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, wow. We're going to show it. We can't. Okay, we can say it. We're going to show it for our 100th episode.
Yeah, that's coming up in 2 weeks.
That's right. We've already shown it before, but we didn't put the sound effects in it because we like the movie so much.
Yeah, it's really good on its own where you don't really have to put sound effects in it. But we played it a couple years ago for a Halloween show.
I mean, the title alone, right? Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. Right away, you're like, what's that? Now, the Ghoul used to show that movie back in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up watching him. And what it's about is basically a bunch of theater types go out,
like hipster theater students.
Hippie. They're hippies.
Or hippie, yeah.
This movie was made in the early 70s, so they've got the striped pants and,
the
their
bell bottoms,
goatees and the peasant shirts. They go to this like little potter's field on an island, where they bury, criminals and the insane. And their intent is they go out and raise the dead. They bring a satanic book, dried baby's blood, I guess, in an envelope, like really weird.
And
right?
it's like them playing around, and they're trying to bring a dead guy back to life.
They wind up mocking him, mocking the devil, and then they just go back in that little house that's there. But you know what? It worked.
All kinds of crap happens.
So they're trapped on this island, basically. They can try to get to the boat. That whole scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But it's done, and they're flesh-eating zombies. They're not voodoo zombies. Like the So I think it's one of the more terrifying kind of, it's creepy, eerie, like smaller, low-budget zombie movies I've seen since like ever. I mean, I still love it.
It's fun. It's
check
really
that one
fun.
out.
A little gory, but it's cool.
Oh, that's what's cool about it too.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that one out because supernatural zombies are always my favorite. I don't know. I feel like when you try and like use too much science to explain the zombie, they kind of lose that mystique to them. You know what I mean? They become less threatening.
That was like the goofy, like when a meteor fell and it made zombie.
Yeah, like Night of the Creeps with the alien slugs that just put themselves in your brain.
Right. Weird. Okay. Just trying to figure out a new way to make zombies. Huh?
This when all the lockdown stuff was going on, we played The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price.
Well, that was a mistake.
And that was a big mistake.
She picked that one out. We played it. See, we played it before, but it's getting to the point too. And here's another thing we're encountering. There are probably at least a handful of movies out there still we haven't touched as far as public domain horror / maybe there's probably more sci-fi than horror out there right now at this point because we're up to almost our 100th episode. So, streaming episodes. So we're kind of running.
We've replayed a handful.
So we started replaying movies, but because a lot of people don't watch every show that we've ever done. So anyone that's coming on new watching, they didn't see what we showed a year ago. Will they go back and watch it? Maybe. I don't know.
So yeah, I mean, if it's been a while since we've aired it, then it's like, okay, let's replay it for the new fans.
And all the horror hosts I grew up watching on television, they never repeated the show. But they would repeat movies. So
right. Well, I mean, there's some gems in those public domains, like the original Dracula. I think that one's public domain, isn't it?
Is it really? I mean, I don't know that I messed with
31. It's got to be like a certain cut of the Bela Lugosi version.
So we have to look that up because it does come up on this public domain site.
It does?
Yes.
But
so does,
it must be a
yeah.
Well, so does Night of the Living Dead as well. That one's a classic. I'm surprised they never tried to copyright that one over the years because that one's phenomenal.
But like you said, it's certain versions are definitely
there's a cleaned up Blu-ray version of it now that is not public domain, but like
no, you got to get the original cuts.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's interesting too how that works. But wow, yeah.
Some good ones.
I think one of my favorite, like, really bad B movies is, have you ever seen The Fiend Without a Face?
That's a Billy Idol song, right? Fiend Without a Face. No. Yes, I have. Now I know that
I don't remember if I've seen that.
That's the one with the brains. That the vertebrae tails.
Oh, is it where the brains are like...
And they have these antennae. And they jump up on you and they kind of back of your neck. And when you shoot them, they turn into this, like, cheese, gross stuff.
Yeah, I think awesome. I did see that one. Is that public domain?
No.
Okay.
I wish.
No, that one's not. Oh man, I love that one.
Joey Vento, our friend Joey Vento, made.
He's got the brain in the jar.
He has one of those fiends in a big case that he put together.
Now I remember. It's been a while.
Did he get one of the original props or did he make it himself?
No, you can tell him about Joey Vento and the Haunted Barn in New Jersey.
Our friend Joey has he collects movie memorabilia, movie props, and he has, I think they're up in New York, the Haunted Barn Movie Museum.
Okay.
And, they're closed because of what's going on this year, but
what's going on? What are you talking about?
they're doing little virtual things through Google Meet. But yeah, he's got a great collection of
they do have movie props. His father had a little cameo in The Beast from 20,000 Phantoms.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he's like one of the
shoremen.
The shoremen, that are on with the hook,
He's in there for like a couple seconds.
Yeah, but it's a sort of a family businessy type of thing where Joey started, and he just would collect, and then eventually Forrest Ackerman would give him stuff.
Yeah, he has stuff from Ackerman.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
Movie props and pieces of this and that.
Masks and little pieces of things.
But anyway,
That's
so
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen, I forget the name of it offhand, but there's a guy who goes around the different Comic Cons that has the mobile movie museum that I really dig going through his, and he always has like stuff come and go. I don't know if they're on loan from certain collections or what the case may be, but it's always like an ever rotating collection of props I like.
That's a cool idea. I'd like to see that myself.
That's really neat.
Yeah, he's definitely been up at Chicago Pop Culture Con a few times. He was, I want to say he was at Wizard World Chicago one of the years as well.
Huh.
Maybe a different collector.
I'm sure several guys must do that running around.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of guys that do that.
Because that's what Joey does at what do you call that, Monster Bash in Mars, Pennsylvania. He'll bring his a little sampling of what they have at the Haunted Barn and do a little, a little show in the
like a what do they call it? Discussion panel.
Yeah, they'll show some of the props he has and some of the stuff he has.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's like a renaissance of prop making as well with a lot of the modern cons. So like, seeing that love for props and just the creativity that goes into making them. I mean, it's always phenomenal. Yeah,
practical effects rule. I mean, there's something sort of fun about them, even though you can tell it's kind of, it's not real, but but your imagination gets to fill the blanks in.
But to me, some of those practical effects look more believable to my eyes.
Oh yeah.
It depends on how the CGI is done with the computer stuff. Sometimes it looks like you're watching a video game.
The graphics aren't that polished. It looks just as hokey as any bad CGI, or any bad special effect.
But like Harryhausen, I mean, his creatures always looked amazing.
You look past the fact that they're real jerky, but but at the time, even when you watch the original King Kong movie now, you can't imagine that audiences were freaked out when it first came out in 1933 or when it came out.
I think he still looks cool though. After all
those years.
I
mean, it's an endearing movie. You love Kong. But I'm saying at the time, when people saw this, if you read the reviews, people were like fainting and running out. They were afraid.
Yeah, there was, I want to say for the 75th or 80th anniversary, was that 2-3 years ago for King Kong? They actually showed it on the big screen. And me and my sister went, and there was an entire group of kids like right in front of us, I'm talking like little kids, 5, 6, 7-year-olds, probably like 4 as well. But as soon as King Kong came on the screen, they all jumped and they didn't know what hit them. So I don't know, there's just something long lasting about Kong.
Something still to it, yeah.
He's evergreen.
It was able to affect adults that way. That's pretty wild back then. But I'm thinking people are very, jaded now because of CGI. Oh, that doesn't look real. Well, it's not about that. It was about all they had. Although I do contend, and I know I get a lot of people that look at me and go, "What are you talking about?" I think if you took some of these computers back to that time and you say, "Hey, look what you could do," these guys would take all those models and throw them right in the garbage. And be like, that's what I'm trying to do, not this, but this is all we can do.
Yeah, well, I mean, I always like CGI when it's used to enhance practical effects in horror. Like there was a film came out last year. It was that Nicolas Cage sci-fi flick, A Color Out of Space.
Color Out of Space, yeah. We're supposed to watch that. We haven't seen it
we still need to see that.
Highly recommend it. There's a sequence in the film that it has a lot of practical effects, very reminiscent of The Thing, and you could definitely tell where they got the inspiration from. But the way they use the CGI just to add like different textures and like layers and just little bits of sliminess, it just enhances everything. So I like CGI when it's used sparingly, I guess, with practical effects.
Yeah, that sounds like if it's blended like that would be, it would look a lot better. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm always going to be more impressed with, a practical head exploding than anything a computer can generate.
Yeah, watch scanners or something like that. But it's funny because it's a different genre, but like these superhero movies, they're laden with, I love them. I grew up with comic books too, but sometimes you just get a little overwhelmed. It's like too much frosting on a cake. It's like it's just too much of that. Everything's CGI. And I don't
or like in those new Transformers movies where everything is going so fast. Where I'm like, what is that? It's like some robot doing something, and it's like a blur.
That's the Transformers movies in general.
Yeah.
Some robot doing something.
I wasn't a fan of them, but you know.
Nah, I can't say I was a fan of the Transformers flicks either. And I don't know, man. Like, there's something disheartening about like looking up the set photos and just seeing like a bunch of actors just in front of a green screen, and that's all it is. It's like, man, I don't know. Like, there's something more impressive, and it's a really bad example because it's a terrible, terrible, terrible movie. But there's something impressive about a giant set like Waterworld built just out in the middle of the ocean, and just the amount of detail and work and construction that went into something like that. It's tangible, you know?
That was probably the tail end of when these studios would go way overboard and just make everything, because the CGI didn't really, well, back then it kind of existed, but you know, but there was, that trade was still around. I think it was just dying around Waterworld. But yeah, there was something about actually being on that raft and not pretending to be on a raft, or that will add everything else in. Yeah, I agree with that. There's just something.
Yeah, when you're building these sets and the props, and that's what I liked about those old Hammer films, is the costuming, the beautiful mansions and castles they were in. It was, you know, it looked real because it was.
Well, and if you want to get crazy, I mean, you go back to like the silent era. Like Metropolis, that movie is or even Caligari. You know,
they hand painted everything.
Everything was so much detail, because again, that's all they could do. Is if they had this vision, then they had to do it that way. You had to build it because there's no other way to do it. But it's just so much more impressive. Even in the original Frankenstein movie, the layer he was in with that huge stupid.
They built all that.
What is all of that? And those stairs are all craggly and cool, and the laboratory. I mean, that stuff was just amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's especially like those old Universal monster movies. You know, the way they use mood and lighting. Like, there's something simplistic. There's something beautiful in its simplicity, because what they had available to them, I don't know. Like, that aesthetic's just timeless.
Yeah, they made it, and it still holds up. If you watch it, you just sit there and go, man, they really thought this through. It wasn't like, we'll just put Tom Cruise in it and we'll slap CGI around it and it's going to be a good movie. No, that doesn't mean, that's.
Oh, I hate that movie.
Universal had this beautiful chance to, you know, bring back, and if it were I in charge, I would have tried to capture some of that atmosphere. And maybe made all these movies black and white. Who cares? You know.
Now that's a cool idea. Are you listening, Universal? If they ever remake the monsters or make spin-offs of the monsters, do the old school black and white. Actually hand paint the sets. Do practical effects.
Or even create CGI sets that look like that. Do whatever you have to do, but don't let that go. You don't have to copy it and then remake it. And let's not get into remakes, but
well, no, they could come up with other monsters.
But if you're gonna reboot this whole classic thing, you know, don't be afraid to go back to a little bit of what made it classic. You know, that's just how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, that whole dark Universal universe they were trying to build. I mean, I just saw that coming for what it was a mile away, because I don't know, you can't capture the kind of lightning that Marvel did in the bottle. You can't. Lightning doesn't strike twice. So why would you try and build your horror universe off like an action premise? It just doesn't make sense.
Well, even DC failed at it, in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of the DC movies. They just can't get it. Now, it seems like they're doing better when they're doing these sort of, like, you know, now I think they're starting to do some kind of multiverse concept where none of the movies have to actually match up like what Marvel did. They laid it all out. I mean, most of the movies are just beautifully done. They're fun.
Yeah, the Marvel movies are.
I love them, and but the DC stuff I can't. And they lost.
I'm not a big like Joker and Harley Quinn fan.
Well,
like not their new version.
But I am, but not the movie version.
I miss the old school like.
I like the Joaquin Phoenix version, but no, the one that they had in Suicide Squad was just awful.
Jared Leto.
I fell asleep halfway through that movie.
But you know what? Jared Leto looks good as Morbius the Vampire if they put that movie out.
Yeah.
I hope that movie's
looks
released.
Great.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that guy.
So,
that's
who,
cool.
Jared or Morbius?
Morbius.
Okay.
Yeah. I like the comics.
Yeah, he always had he always had an interesting arc too, because he was one of those classical monsters, but they just retold that story through a sci-fi lens, which always makes it fresh, because I mean, at his core, he's still just a vampire, but it just removed all that supernatural aspect to it and makes it something that's very explainable.
I wish Marvel would just go ahead and just do their monster universe, all this Man-Thing and
Yeah.
Dracula, Morbius, Werewolf by Night, that'd be so great.
That would be cool.
Maybe Blade could be back, but I have to have the Wesley Snipes Blade.
Aren't they bringing back?
Yes,
Are they making a new
they
Blade?
are.
But it doesn't, I don't know.
Wesley Snipes was an awesome
Snipes Blade was pretty tight.
I mean, that's going to be hard. That's big shoes to fill there.
Well, I mean, everyone always points to X-Men as like launching the superhero phrase, but I disagree. It was Blade, man. Blade was an awesome movie.
It was true to the comic. It was very true. I mean, it was just updated. He didn't have the green goggles, but he had, the cool shades and, all the cool tools to kill vampires. He had Whistler was in it, just about everything except Dracula,
I think he was that was the first superhero movie starring an African-American character, as far as I know. I don't know if there's any others that came out.
What about Damon Wayans? What was that?
Oh, Blank Man, yeah.
Blank Man. See?
Oh, okay.
Technically.
How soon we forget.
Yeah, what about, didn't Robert Townsend do, or was that a movie he did? I forget, Robert Townsend. I thought he played a character too, a super character. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Well, so there was also Steel with Shaq, Superman knockoff.
Terrible. Yeah, that's true. That might have been predate Blank Man.
I'll have to look that up on the internet.
That one's great. That's great in all the wrong ways, that movie.
Yeah, that movie was interesting because like I feel the writing team just tried to go more blaxploitation than superhero with it. So the way the film's laid out, he's removing riffraff from the hood. Like it tells like one of those like 70s blaxploitation flicks, which is cool because I love that entire genre.
But what a weird character to focus on, because Steel was an offshoot of the death of Superman, right? He was like this other super character from another universe, or maybe since Superman was dead, a lot of people thought they were going to try to fill his shoes because they miss him, and I think he was one of these characters. So it was almost like Tony Stark, where he created his own costume that was made of steel or something like that. I don't remember the origin 100%, but it's so just okay. I mean, when people even get, you have to, why are you Superman but not Superman?
Well, and then weren't they trying to give like Superboy takeover or something?
What are you talking about?
With the Superman comics.
You're okay.
I know. We went from movies to
and after the death of Superman, Superboy did step in for a bit, but he was a punk. Nobody likes Superboy.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything good. He powers in the wrong way. But yeah. Anyway, so I don't even know how we got off onto this. I think we're just talking about superheroes.
From horror movies now to superheroes.
We're talking about Universal horror movies and Marvel's horror stuff. But yeah, Universal, I think they still might have a chance. All they have to do is kind of reset it again. Don't put The Rock as the Wolfman. Don't try to overcast it. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah. It's we don't always need a big name actor to be in a movie to make it good.
Jekyll and Hyde. It was Dr. Jekyll.
Just find an actor that would be the right fit.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh, but the worst movie ever. Worst newer horror movie.
Which one?
Van Helsing.
Oh
yeah. I didn't like Van Helsing at all.
I try to watch it again, and between the Hot Topic vampires and which were almost like the underworld vampires, they're a little Hot Topic-y too.
Oh yeah.
But these were really bad, and the acting is Kate Beckinsale in tight black vinyl couldn't save that movie. She was in that movie too. Couldn't save it. I'm sorry, Kate. I got to cut this off. I can't.
I didn't like that movie either. I watched it when it first came out, and I'm like,
the werewolf, the big giant black werewolf at the end, the Van Helsing was really cool looking, but. That's not a movie for me. I just can't sit there and watch it.
Yeah, and that CGI doesn't age well. Like all that early 2000 CGI, it doesn't age well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, but you say it, but what about the Jurassic Park stuff? I mean, that stuff's great. They did a combination of practical and CGI, but that's when they had if you ever watch a documentary on that, the stuff that they do CGI now sits on your desktop. They had a room full of computers cranking out, rendering this CGI at the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I want to say that is probably, mainstream wise, the last really good monster movie that we've had, because like there's been like horror movies that have featured like supernatural monsters, but like mainstream like movie that just conquers the box office one summer monster movie. I'd say that's the last good one.
Which one, Gemma?
Jurassic Park?
Well, I mean, Jurassic Park, just the franchise, I guess.
Oh, just the series.
No,
Yeah.
because it was fun.
Well, they're fun. They're great, like popcorn movies, and it is
Yeah.
what it is. It's dinosaurs, It's fun to watch.
Now, if you could just take out Jeff Goldblum, I'd love it even more.
Not a Jeff Goldblum fan?
Well, only in a few things. The Fly, I love.
The Fly.
Yeah, he was good at that.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was Cronenberg, so it was crazy. But we just tried to watch Buckaroo Banzai the other day.
Oh, that movie's.
Ooh, that's a rough one to get through, but like it's so funny.
Right, exactly. We were thinking about,
like it has some good parts. Like some of the characters are interesting, but the stories jumps all over the place.
It's just the same. It's just them chasing him. I didn't get.
Yeah.
After a while, I got bored.
Well, I mean, the thing about Buckaroo Banzai is they just try to make him so many things at once. Like he's a scientist, he's a ninja, he's a rock star, he's a race car driver. Like what doesn't Buckaroo Banzai do?
That's funny. I like that premise, but why he couldn't make a movie good? That's the only thing he couldn't do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. That movie just had so many small roles for so many guys that would go on to be established actors. So Jeff Goldblum being one of them. I think Christopher Lloyd's in that one too, isn't he?
Lloyd's, but again, this is after. And when you watch this movie right away, you're thinking, Back to the Future. It came out before that. And he kind of, it's like, okay, so you're still Doc in a way to everybody. That was a hard. I think he got a little typecast there with that one. But still, yeah, he pops up and what's his face?
What's the one from Third Rock from
John Lithgow.
John Lithgow.
Yeah.
Who I think they modeled that villain from Incredibles after that red hair and everything.
Well, to me, he looked like Lord Vigo from Ghostbusters. He had the crazy teeth.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
But the thing, we're big Better Call Saul fans and Breaking Bad fans.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, Mike Ehrmantraut, the guy that plays Mike Ehrmantraut in the guy that works for the Chicken Man, the hitman. There's a young Mike Ehrmantraut in Buckaroo Banzai.
Yeah, what's that actor's name?
I forget his name off.
I'd have to look him up.
I just know him as Mike.
But he actually has hair in that movie.
Yeah, and youth.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't we all?
I'd have to go back and rewatch that. I've never seen that man with hair to my recollection.
Yeah, he is towards the beginning. He's like the orderly taking care of John Lithgow in the insane asylum. You might not even recognize him right away. I did point it out. I said, "Look at him."
Yeah, it took me a while because he had hair, and I'm not used to seeing that actor.
He was much younger back then.
Right.
But yeah, Bucker, we tried to watch, and but it's the question I asked myself because it had about the same level of special effects as Back to the Future did. Right?
Yeah, it had a lot of practical effects, a lot of cool effects, but
the level effects. But I said,
the story was weird.
But I wonder, like, when I watch, like, when you watch Back to the Future, personally, I think it's one of those movies that, like, every scene is good. It's like really weird. It's like you don't sit there and go, "Oh, I can stare at the ceiling now," or "Time to go to the bathroom. Let the movie keep playing. I'll be right back because this is boring." Like every scene is written perfectly, shot perfectly. It's weird, and like, why can't every movie be like that? I don't know. So
well, I was going to say, Back to the Future, like the entire trilogy is just written so tightly. There's so many small nuances that like they put in the background in, the first one, and they realize, well, that guy's walking back there with a hat and a coat. We could just write that in to be Doc in the next movie. And they did it. And I mean, I don't know, just the way that they structured everything, the way that they worked everything, and it's just I don't know,
they noodled it out really nice. It's and
that's an awesome movie.
I just think in theory that why can't every movie be that? But I guess it just
trilogy, I should say.
I guess everybody. I mean, it's just that's how unique these directors' visions. It's really the vision of the director and how much control they have over the movie. Because that's the problem with a lot of movies is that you'll have this brilliant idea and a brilliant script, but then some of the producers want to get involved, and Kevin Smith has some great stories about that.
He sure does.
Yeah, writing about Superman when he was supposed to write a reboot of a Superman movie. The one that it was the one where he saves the plane from crashing into the stadium one. I think it was supposed to be that one. But Kevin Smith tells that great story about how the producers wanted him to add Superman fighting a giant tarantula. And he didn't know why he wanted it, but then he finds out that the guy that wanted it done, the producer, his daughter wrote a paper about tarantulas for a 5th grade class.
So that's their reason.
But you know where it showed up later?
Where?
Wild Wild West.
Oh,
because
a giant robot.
A giant mechanical spider. Oh boy, they get their way. But that does tend to taint, because everyone wants to put their fingerprints on it, and they work with enough corporate types. Yeah, I did that. That thing, that was my idea. It's like, oh, just leave it alone. Let the creative guy do it.
Yeah, let the creatives do their thing.
Let the people with the vision, like Marvel did, was brilliant. They brought in people that wrote comics to come in and consult.
Yeah. Yeah, and that also made sure that, like, you know, they were true to the character's core too. The other studio that's really doing that well with horror, I think, is Blumhouse. Like, they let their creators come in and just go wild and do what they want to.
They are knocking it out of the park. They got one out. See, and there's another guy I'm not really that choked up about, Vince Vaughn, but there's a movie coming out called Freaky. It's like a take of Freaky Friday. Have you seen the preview for that?
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, it does. I have to admit, it does look cool.
It's more like
it's a horror movie.
It's like a horror movie, but like a horror comedy kind of, because they do have some jokes in there and stuff. And
it's fun.
Geared towards teenagers.
So the premise is, I'm not giving any spoil. I mean, this is what's in the commercial because I haven't seen the movie yet. But it's a teen movie, where they have the teenagers in high school type of thing, and one of them, the blonde girl, gets attacked by Vince Vaughn, who's a serial killer. And he has this magical knife, right? And he looks like he stabs her with it. But what he does is he transferred his soul into her body and vice versa. It's Freaky Friday, right? That type of thing. So where the mom switches souls with the daughter. Yeah. Same thing. But a serial killer wants, for whatever reason, wants to be in her body. Probably running from the cops. Almost got caught. Does that type of thing, like Chucky, that type of thing.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of that. What was that Denzel Washington movie?
Fallen. Fallen.
Yeah, the one where the demon just jumps from person to person.
Just by you, Fallen. It's a great movie. Oh, that's a scary movie. Oh,
that's a good one.
Messed up movie. Something like that, soul transmigration type of thing. But
but
it
looks
cool.
Interesting.
So you got Vince Vaughn with a girl. It's almost like the Jumanji thing, right? Even though I didn't see it, it was a funny idea. Hey, now the Rock's a girl, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Or a girl is the Rock, in the game. Yeah. Well, he's got there's Vince Vaughn has his teenage girl in his body. He's like, hey guys, I got to get my body back, and all her friends are like, who are you? You know what I mean? So and the girl's the killer, and got the killer soul in her, and she wants her body back. It's one of those, but it looks good. It looks good.
Yeah, something different, something fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully it's good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing. Blumhouse does do a lot of things that are different, and I don't know, just the way that each one of their movies kind of relates around the homestead, right? Whether it's Us, whether it's Get Out, or The Purge. The first film being just a straight home invasion film. Like I feel like, those invasion style movies just touch at that core. And then over the course of that, of their series of films, they've explored different facets of what's fascinating and what about the horror of being in the home.
Yeah, well,
I think Get Out was my favorite so far.
Get Out's brilliant. It was so,
oh my God.
I expected one thing and I totally got another. I did not see. Yeah. I'm thinking, here we go, and they're going to do something. I want to get into the some sort of issues with race, and it wasn't really that at all. It was more of a fashion thing. Oh, this is what's in this year.
So it ended up being more like a demented sci-fi
it's
type
like,
of thing.
What the heck's going on? Yeah, I had not seen.
Yeah, that was a great twist.
And my favorite part was the guy that knew exactly what was going on.
The TSA worker.
He figured it out, but he couldn't get anyone to believe.
No one believed him.
He was basically the audience.
He was the hero.
Well, he was the audience person.
Yeah.
Who's figured out what's going on.
But we were like, rooting for him.
Oh my God, I love that. It was just so funny. Just brilliantly written.
Yeah, well, I mean, particularly like right at the end, where like, the cop car is coming up and, you see this African-American guy, choking out this little blonde girl, and like, you just expect the worst. And then you get that final joke and it's just like, just so relieving.
Yeah.
That's one thing I love about horror is like, I love those horror movies that take you on that journey, but at the end they kind of leave you with that lighthearted touch.
As opposed to movies. Now movies I can't, what about movies you can't watch? Like You started talking about like in home invasion movies. Those are a little rough sometimes. I mean, I grew up with, I Spit on Your Grave and things like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The original one, but the remake was even more brutal. That's hard to watch. But like, it was the movie, not The Crazy, The Others.
Oh yeah, The Others.
I watched it once. I'm like, I can't, because it's almost like someone just filmed people doing stuff that people do to people.
Oh no, are you talking about The Strangers?
Strangers.
The Strangers.
Yeah. That's I mean, for as great as the original Strangers is, it just makes you like feel so cringy and like unnerving.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
The sequel is just it's just completely bonkers. Like they just took every like 80s like slasher cliche and they put it into this movie. It's so bad, but it's so funny.
Wow.
Wow. So it doesn't have anything of the same vibe as the first one?
It's the same killers, but like, I mean, it's just the most stereotypical slasher that you could imagine. But the fact that they tried to capture that 80s like old school slasher aesthetic, it's just a completely different style of film.
Yeah.
So this is going to be like a Halloween show, right? Or around Halloween time?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Halloween movies we like, yeah?
Halloween movies?
Because no one's going to be talking about that. But I don't care what other people, I want to talk about what we want to talk about.
There you go.
I mean, it's not necessarily a Halloween movie, but I started, I do my 31 days of Halloween, right?
Ooh.
So every night I'll watch a new movie. And the first one that I chose to watch this year was Pumpkinhead.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh.
With Lance Hendrickson. Yeah, good one.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing that I love about Pumpkinhead, I mean, obviously the best thing in the movie is just the practical effects.
And that's Stan Winston, right?
Yeah. Well, he directed the flick, but he had the same team that worked on Predator, Terminator, and Aliens, helping design the creature. And one of the things that I was surprised to learn was that the leg extensions that they use for the Pumpkinhead puppet, the Pumpkinhead suit, was originally the leg extensions that they wanted to use for the Predator monster, but they could never get it to work right. And they finally figured out a way to like get this harness so that they could use it for Pumpkinhead.
You got my head spinning all kind of different ways. I'm going to forget half the stuff I want to say, but have you seen on the YouTube the original alien effects for Predator starring Jean-Claude Van Damme as
Yeah.
Holy
I have seen those. They're crazy.
I think that's a complete 180. There's no in between. It's like that could have been it. That would have failed.
That would have been a bomb.
You almost got that though. But they are able to actually flip the whole thing the other way around and do it the right way.
That's cool.
Wow, we were that close to having Jean-Claude run around in a red suit with bug eyes or something. That was the weirdest. But that had the like bent legs, I think, in it or something, right?
Yeah, because Jean-Claude was, he's a short guy just in general. And that's why they wanted to have him on like these big, they're just basically like these like bent leg stilts. And it just balanced it out, but they could never get him to be able to like move or run. So the only footage that they have him in that original suit, he could only stand still. And you can't have that as your monster.
We were that close, man. That close, brother.
Yikes.
To get to the excellent stuff we did wind up getting. And Predator is another one of those movies that the commercial, you just saw everything Schwarzenegger came out on. You didn't care what he was in. So I went and saw it with a buddy of mine, and I think we kind of knew a little bit. We didn't know any, but that movie blew my mind because I didn't know it was going to be an alien. I thought it was going to be I don't know.
So you didn't even know what it was about, and you just saw it kind of cold
I think the commercials were real vague, and you didn't really know what was going on until you figured it out. But the technology of, cloaking and all that kind of stuff was kind of...
Or what would you call that? Like a blind, just random movie visit? Movie view?
You knew Schwarzenegger was going to be in it as action. You knew it was going to be an action movie. But
yeah.
I don't know that they really build it as a... I got to go back and look at the original sort of commercials for it and see what they showed.
Well, I love movies that market it that way. Like both Gremlins and From Dusk Till Dawn did the same thing. From Dusk Till Dawn, those original like sneak peek trailers, when they did that, it was just billed as like this like crime movie and about these two brothers on the run. And they didn't even mention the vampires until after the opening weekend with that second round of trailers.
Nice little slap in the, where am I? It's what they felt. They're like, what happened? How the hell did we go from robbing the store or bank
I remember
to being in a vampire?
Borrowing that tape from a boyfriend in high school. This was forever ago. Oh, this is a cool vampire movie. You should see it. Well, I'm watching this tape and I'm like, where's the vampires? Because it's
Don't worry.
halfway through they show up. But, you know, it was just funny because, you know, it kind of throws you off at first. Well, and then surprise.
Yeah, Tarantino was pretty good with that rope-a-dope. I mean, Pulp Fiction, you didn't know. Why, Gimp, what's going on? You know, it's like all over the place.
Yikes.
What's going to happen to us?
Oh my.
You know, you just didn't even see that one coming, did you? But
that and I mean Tarantino, Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, right? They cast that bar perfectly. They just had the best arrangement of just character actors. You know, Fred Williamson, Savini, also had Cheech Marin, Danny Trejo, Salma Hayek, like all these great character actors. And they're just filling these like little bit vampire roles, and it just works so well.
I just couldn't figure out why Cheech Marin was selling cats on the outside the bar. I still can't, but that might be my limitation.
I'll explain it to you later.
Thank you.
And then Cheech ended up playing like 3 roles in that movie. Wasn't he the cop, the bartender, and then he was like the mob boss, right?
He shows up.
It was so good. Yeah, I mean, that movie is just so. I love that movie. It's just done so well. It's just so much fun.
But going back to Halloween movies.
Yes.
What's the one with the little is that Trick or Treat?
Trick or Treat.
The little
Our Treat. With
Sam.
Sammy, yeah.
Sam with the lollipop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie's way cool. And it has that classic Halloween feel with that little bit of, you know, gore and stuff.
It's Halloween vignettes, and it all gets tied together at the end, you know, type of thing, like Creep Show. You know.
Yeah, that's the one thing I really miss from today's horror movie is you don't really see those anthology films anymore. Like, I love those short little horror stories. You know, most of the time they're like those old EC comics. They have a little moral to them, right? You know, so it's just the perfect amount.
Yeah, Creep Show, and then which turned into the HBO series. You know, what was it? That's not was a Creep Show. It was the one you like, HBO, the Crypt Keeper.
Tales from the Crypt.
Tales from the Crypt. Yeah,
you know, which you know that kind of stuff. But Creep Show 1 and 2 are just so good to watch. Anthology stuff. The newer movies about Cabin in the Woods. Are you a fan of that? A lot of people don't get that.
I love that one. There's a YouTube breakdown that just points out every reference in that movie. And it's like 17 minutes long because there's just so many of them.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'd seen it, and when I saw it, I sat there, and it's definitely one of the movies, very rare when you sit there, and when it's like, boom, when you get it, you're like, oh my God, I've never seen this before. This is brilliant. And then I hear it to you, you're like, oh, I know it's going to happen. He's going to go. I'm like, yes, but they're doing it for a reason.
I have to give another chance because when I first watched it with him a couple years ago, I guess I didn't get it right away.
The cliches are intended. It was the whole point of the movie.
I guess I didn't like it because of the cliches.
It's the whole point of the movie.
I know, but I'll have to give it another chance.
I mean, it's kind of like Scream in that way. Like Scream came along and it tried to deconstruct the horror movie. Cabin in the Woods deconstructs it just a little bit further, but it gives you that almost like just tiptoeing up to the fourth wall breaking because they're obviously aware they're in a horror movie, and the fact that they just tie it all in with the Lovecraftian mythos, man, it's just a little cherry on top.
Yeah, the end of that of Cabin Woods almost kind of made me feel like Evil Deadish in a way. I don't know how to explain it. It just because it was like, oh my God, demon. I didn't see that. I did not know what was going on. And then when you figure out exactly what's been going on for hundreds of years, it's because of that. Just trying to save the world from a demon. But yeah, Evil Dead. Oh my gosh, how do you top that?
I mean, that movie's like perfection. Evil Dead's awesome.
It's what you don't see is what's scary.
Yeah, it's just a cult classic. I mean,
what's not to love?
Exactly. The second one I like a little bit better though. But
the second one's probably my favorite of the series, just because of.
I forgot what they were doing by then. It took a head on life of its own by then, and then they go.
The second one had some comedy.
He figured out now how to do it. You know how to really bring out this craziness. You know, amped it up.
Yeah, and Raimi just kind of like found his niche by that. He knew exactly what kind of aesthetic he wanted to do, and I love all the horror movies that he's done over the years. I mean, Drag Me to Hell had that.
Oh, one of my favorites.
And I'm really, really, really excited for that Doctor Strange movie he's going to do, the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, Raimi's he's coming back and doing that?
He's
I
doing
didn't know
that
that.
one?
Yeah, they were in talks with him taking it over, and he was going to, from at least last time I've read, they could have replaced him by now. Disney does that all the time, apparently.
Oh, please don't do that. Yeah, that's a good idea.
But yeah, they wanted him to bring out the horror aspect to it, because one of the things that Marvel's trying to do is branch out into those other genres, and horror is one that they could definitely do. And if they did it, PG-13 wise, and did it right, they could definitely make it scary and fun.
They should. I mean,
They
look
should.
at those huge differences between and I know they're different studios, but still they still owned by Marvel, the characters. But you have such a difference between the Marvel universe, like the Avengers movies and Deadpool. It's like that, even though it's not the same studio. Am I right? I know Spider-Man just got bought. Sony and
No, Deadpool I thought was same one.
Because I know they have some.
But that one was obviously not like for kids,
Oh, that's not.
I think they may have made like a teenage version, like a kid version.
They did. There's that Christmas-looking one that they put out with the reindeer or something like that.
But no, I thought that was the same one, same studio.
Oh, let's see.
That was Marvel.
They would make fun of not being able to afford the other characters to be in the movie.
No, Spider-Man was Sony for
a while.
Is that still Sony?
For a long time. I mean, it's still technically Sony, but it's just a partnership.
Legal, yeah, because the money.
Yeah.
They could share because they weren't doing so well with their adaptations of some of that stuff.
No, those last two Spider-Man movies they put out were just god awful. I went to theaters with The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and I fell asleep during it. I woke up at the end like, oh shit.
Was that the Electro one? Or is that the one? Are you talking about the?
Yeah. The one with Jamie Foxx. Yeah.
Horrible. Yeah.
I didn't even go see it.
The first one.
We saw Venom.
Oh, Venom. Yeah.
Venom. We turned off halfway through.
A lot of people
like to make it through Venom, man. And I love Tom Hardy. That Mad Max Fury Road was phenomenal. So I have high hopes for anything that he's in. But yeah Venom was just terrible.
That was a paycheck for that guy.
I just wasn't liking it.
Thank you. You might be the only person that.
But I never liked Venom that much anyway.
Me neither.
Honestly.
But if you're gonna do it.
But if you're gonna do it true to the,
I liked early Venom. I liked when Venom was a monster eating people's brains. Like he ended up, getting too tame, and that's the version they went with. I was like, no, Venom's a villain for a reason. Like, let's show a little bit more brain eating, please.
It was so weird because when that character came out, I mean, Spider-Man never fought nothing like that. I mean, it was kind of weird. It was like so far. It was almost like when the Punisher appeared in Spider-Man comics.
It seemed like Venom didn't quite. To me, it felt like he didn't belong in the comics. Like he should belong in Spawn or something.
Well, that wasn't created yet. But,
yeah.
But
he just has that.
Spawn looks just like Spider-Man and Venom put together. I mean,
he just has Venom has that Spawn kind of look.
Well, McFarlane created him. That's why.
Is that what it was?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Duh.
He was doing Spider-Man back then.
Okay.
But
he was the one who came up with that spaghetti style webbing, because everyone else before that they just shot like the web and it was just like cut some lines with a little bit of web drawings in it. Like he actually did the straight line and it like spiraled around. He really reinvented that character and how he could be drawn.
Well, and it's almost like even Steve Ditko, but even further out with the wacky,
Oh yeah.
All contorted.
Around,
yeah.
And they do some of that in some of the. You can tell in some of the newer movies that they kind of mimic some of those really exaggerated poses that McFarlane came up with and started doing with the character. But back to the horror movie. Sorry, I keep going.
Yeah, we keep going off to comic books and superheroes. More Halloween movies.
Well, one of my favorite ones is, and I'm sure that Jim knows this one, Dog Soldiers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. Another one that's like, where did this come from? How come I didn't know about this movie?
I have not seen that.
I haven't.
Dude, one of my favorite werewolf movies.
It is it's just like almost as good as The Howling to me. It's just
that good.
Yeah, The Howling's great.
The Howling's up there. I think American Werewolf in London is always going to be like my favorite werewolf movie.
Say no more. That is by far. I don't care CGI, practical effects. That transformation, that Rick Baker stuff. It is just painful. You feel that guy's pain.
Yeah, dude, you cringe in your seat when you watch that.
The hair's flying out of his face and the bones just cracking, and it didn't look like fun.
Yeah.
And the wolf looked really cool, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Same with the Howling Werewolf. I love the way that one was designed with just like the really tall ears.
Yeah.
And actually, that one was ripped off. You ever see the movie Waxwork? That's another good Halloween movie.
That's
I
love Waxwork.
Yeah, they completely ripped off that Howling Werewolf when they made that little werewolf skit as well. So like, I don't know, there's just something about that silhouette of like the really tall ears. It just kind of resonates with you.
Yeah, but that movie too did a lot with atmosphere. I mean, that whole scene when Dee Wallace is in the cabin with Eddie, that is so creepy. And his face is all burned with the acid, and he still turns.
Yeah.
Oh my God, stuff's popping and bubbling. Oh my, it's great.
Snap, crackle, pop.
It's some good stuff. You can't. I mean, they try so hard now. That's the problem. I think they try too hard. They don't sit there and think of it like what would scare them. You know, they just think what's gonna look cool instead of what's scary. You know, that's the scary. Yeah. Get lost.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like horror movies, for the most part nowadays, they go after the cheap scares, right? They try and fit in as many jump scares as they can, but like really, it seems like that kind of stick with you. You know what I mean? They get underneath your skin and they just kind of burrow themselves in your mind. So, you know, you're thinking about a few days later and, you know, just that one image of that guy covered in acid, still turning into a werewolf, just frozen in that position forever in the waxwork.
Like, I'll never forget the smell of the theater I saw it in. It was an old theater, so I had an old theater smell. I'm talking about like, it was a building from the 1900s kind of old theater,
cool.
Where they had all the orchestra pits and still. So it was like that kind of. It was called the Olympia in Cleveland, a really old movie house. It was obviously a place where they had plays and stuff, but then it got converted to a movie house. So it smelled like that buttery popcorn.
And it's long gone
the old
now.
wood, and then I just remembered that and seeing that all that stuff just brings back those memories of seeing that movie there. It's just so good. What was I going to say about something? I don't know.
I was trying to think of more like Halloween themed movies.
Oh, well, Halloween.
Halloween 3, yeah, that's.
Season of the Witch, yeah, man, that's a good one.
So fun.
And it's so out of, doesn't match the rest.
It wasn't supposed to. You know how that Halloween thing was.
Originally, they were all going to be different, but yeah, I love how different that one was.
Well, you know, they had that one that they did was so different because they were hoping to have it spawn off into a series where it's just a different story every time, not just Michael Myers.
Everyone loved it.
Yeah, and I feel like if, you know, people would have just went along with that, you know, that series wouldn't have got as stale as it had been over the years because, I don't know, I feel like the Halloween franchise, it just ends perfectly with the first one. So I think jumping off and like doing a different one every Halloween would have been cool. But man, like the Halloween series gets rough in the middle there, like right around like 5 and 6, whichever one had the cult. And then they tried to superimpose like the fact that this cult was controlling him the entire time. It made absolutely no sense.
I don't remember that. I gotta go back. I like stop after 1 or 2 at the most. I can't.
And there was like Halloween H2O and like all these really bad sequels years later. Was that the one where they set up like a webcam and they were like trying to see if Michael Myers would show up and they were staying at the house?
Oh, yeah, no, that wasn't H2O. That was the one that came after, the one with Busta Rhymes.
Oh,
that's
geez.
right. Yes.
They gave him they gave him that fight scene at the end. It's just like, come on, man.
It's so cheesy.
Was there 50 Cent in it? No,
not yet.
Maybe something.
No, that'll be next year's.
Yeah.
30 versus 50.
I mean, I don't know. At least it wasn't as bad as. Well, I can't say the Rob Zombie movies were bad, but
I can say it.
I mean, like the first one, like it's a decently made movie, but it just misses the mark on what Michael Myers is. Like Michael Myers is a shape. He's he blends into the darkness. He's not a monster ripping down an entire story of a house.
Yeah, that's true. But you know what I did like about that movie? I always tell the same story. Was it showed you how massive this man was? You know that, and how remember the scene where he's walking down the hall with the cop? You know, in the jail.
Yeah.
See, this guy's got giant the guy's his hands are as big as a cop, and it's just like crazy. And I love that they did that. I thought that was kind of fun. But maybe it's like the Hulk or something walking down the hall.
Yeah, but, like he's not quite human.
But it's funny that you say that Michael Myers is a shape. You know, what I mean, because he's like this He's not.
He's supposed
supernatural.
to be like the boogeyman or something.
Right.
You know, he just always comes back.
Now, when that movie came out in the late '70s, it was a young ape in school, and I remember when I didn't get to see it because it was a rated R movie, but other kids got to go see it, and there was this whole thing about at the end when he falls out the window, that he turned into that tree, or he turned into leaves. All the kids that didn't get that, he just got up and ran. But there was this, I don't know how they turned, but maybe, it just felt like he could be that supernatural to kids.
Maybe where he could just disappear and reappear.
That tree wasn't there before, but when you notice after he falls, there's a tree there. Like, okay.
Kids trying to figure it out.
Okay, yeah, but it gave them, but he was so weird and creepy and very much a shape, that you didn't know how this guy could even walk away with all this damage and whatnot. You didn't know what he was.
Well, I feel like the strength of the Michael Myers character, and primarily if you end with that first movie, it touches on a lot of the folklore that like kids would tell around like campfires. This guy escaped from a mental institution, and in that first movie, there's nothing about Laurie Strode's being his sister. He's just trying to recreate that feeling that he had when he killed his sister the first time. So there's no real rhyme or reason to it. And I find that way more terrifying and scary than, a giant troubled monster that's, just trying to kill his sister. Like the motivation not being there, that abstractness just makes it more scary for me.
Is there any truth that they're talking Rob Zombie remaking it again, like revisiting the franchise? I don't know.
If I'm going to have Rob Zombie remake a movie, it's going to be Werewolves on Wheels.
Oh, wow. I think that would be fitting.
Yeah, that would be like, that'd be neat. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's just one of my like favorite trash horror movies, just because like it doesn't promise what it delivers, but like the title's so good that last 15 minutes is just worth the entire movie.
I've seen the preview for it, but I've not seen the actual movie. Yeah, that one's a hard one to get.
You should do like a music video to go with it or something.
Rhino, yeah. We're showing our movie tomorrow night for our show, which is going to be, already shown by the time this gets shown.
But people can catch our videos on our archives.
But it's called
on our Facebook page.
It's called Dr. Jekyll Meets the Werewolf. Hi, werewolf.
Really? All right.
It's a Spanish film.
It's one of those Paul Naschy horror, werewolf movies.
Yeah.
It's another one of those. And the funny because the version is Paul, but the actor's name is Paul Naschy.
Yeah.
And but
the movie is.
Yeah, but he's in. I mean, the version we have, it's like it just starts in the like halfway through the movie for some reason, but it's still an hour and 11 minutes long, whatever. And but hopefully it explains everything. It doesn't. No one cares. But it's like I love these like just do that, make a movie of that.
Well, the werewolf that's in the movie, like he just looks like a big fuzzy teddy bear or something.
Cute. What's the Paul Naschy werewolf?
It's like he's kind of goofy looking, but I like it.
Yeah, we showed one of those already.
Yeah.
Now, I guess let me ask: have you guys ever had a chance to show like any independent horror movies, like any like up and coming filmmakers that just want to have a avenue to show what they had?
I mean, we did, absolutely. We've shown a few things.
Yes.
If you'd like to elaborate.
So there's a filmmaker that's in Wisconsin. His name is.
He changed it since this. Like, we know him as.
We know him as Michael Butt, but he goes by Michael Gale.
Gale now, yes.
Yeah, because but he has a whole bunch of different indie movies he made. There was a Sasquatch one.
But a Yeti one. It was just.
Or Yeti. Sasquatch, Yeti. I get the two mixed up.
But the one worth noting is it's called
Vampire Ticks from Outer Space. That is.
That's
it delivers what it promises.
It's very close to Ed Wood, to an Ed Wood movie. It's really done like that.
He's like Wisconsin's Ed Wood.
That sincerely, not all of his movies.
And I mean that as a compliment because.
Yeah, not all of his movies are as good as Vampire Ticks.
No, Vampire Ticks is my favorite that he released.
The only bad part of it is the ending is a little weak, but everything else is done almost like like an Ed Wood would do it, or it's just so like done honestly, like he's really trying to make a good movie.
Yeah,
that's entertaining, a little schlocky, but wow, it's just the ticks were just basically this, an inflated medical glove.
And they were painted and filled with fake blood.
When you squish them, you run over them, their blood comes. But the thing that got us, there's a scene like towards the halfway through the movie where the whole cast is sitting in this living room of this like trailer home, and there's a big picture window behind them, and someone's out there lobbing these rubber gloves against the window. And it is so perfect.
And they're like, oh no, they're attacking.
Oh, there's just somebody down there lobbing these things up. You know,
I'm picturing like some dude with like a bucket of these, just throwing them at the window.
It is. Well, I could never think that. I mean, I don't know.
And if you've had a few beverages and you're watching this, it's just so funny.
It makes you want more beverages. But
yeah.
No, but it's actually not a horrible movie. He was nice enough to let us show it. We did show another one of his that was not as I thought as good as that, but
it was These Woods is or this.
Oh, that's a different one.
This Woods is Cursed.
This Woods is Cursed. 1 and 2 he had, but we got to show the first one, and that's a very Evil Deadish type of
Evil Dead
homage.
inspired.
Yeah, it sounds like an Evil Dead. Well, I mean, anytime you go in the woods nowadays, I feel like it definitely has that like Evil Dead vibe. Anything supernatural in the woods, it's gonna pull from that aesthetic.
Yep. And another one we had was what's the thing with Big Chuck was in?
Oh, what was the name of that movie?
Something dark. I can't think of it right now.
Oh man.
Horrible we are.
But the guys from Midnight Syndicate made it.
Oh yes.
They put that movie together.
Now they're gonna hate us for not remembering it. I wasn't prepared for that.
But we played that last year.
That one movie.
Yeah, so we have played a handful of independent films with permission, and then if they request it, we'll take the episode down if they want to promote their DVD sales or whatever.
And like you mentioned earlier, the Jay Summers.
And the Troma film Attack, Revenge of the Spacemen.
Yeah, which was based on Attack or whatever.
Which was an homage to Invasion of the Saucermen.
Invasion.
Okay. Yeah, Invasion of the Saucermen, man. That is one I watched as a kid. Because, well, I don't know. One year my uncle just got me this giant DVD collection. It was like 500 just old cheesy sci-fi movies. And, man, there's some gems on there. Like, what's the one I really enjoyed? I want to say it was just called Spider Island or Escape from Spider Island.
No,
Horrors of Spider Island.
The Horrors of Spider Island.
The Horrors of Spider Island. Yeah, I love that one.
Now, interesting that you brought that one up because I had this when I watch some of these movies, I check out. I'm like, I wonder if Stan Lee watches because that movie is basically about people that are on an island, that get stranded on an island that has uranium ore mines in it, and this spider was irradiated, okay, and he becomes this monster spider, and he bites people, and they turn into mutated spider people.
Yeah.
That movie came out the same year Amazing Fantasy came out, so I don't know that Stanley could have seen it, but I don't know.
Makes you wonder. Maybe he was out seeing these monster movies and was inspired to put together these books.
If you watch the opening scene of The Amazing Colossal Man, there's an atom bomb test going on, and there's someone stuck in a plane, and the scientist runs out to save the guy, gets hit by the radioactive blast, and becomes giant.
Yeah.
Arsenio Hall, things that make you go, I don't know, Stan. You got some explaining to do, but we can't do that now. I just wonder. I'm sure because they did a lot of monster comics and stuff before they did superhero comics.
Well, and monsters, and I mean the whole Monster Kid thing of the '60s. That whole trend. You had the Addams Family, the Munsters.
Oh yeah.
The monster movies, and then all the comic books. It all ties in.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, with I don't know, just that entire era, that the Silver Age was just so inspired directly from those kind of B movies because, the Golden Age of comics was mostly dominated by DC, and they had more of a fanciful look at things. Fanciful? That's not even a word. A more fantasy-based things. Fantastical. But, they drew from mythology, right? They had these supernatural ways of explaining their characters, whether it's Wonder Woman, Shazam, and with the Silver Age, they kind of went in this science fiction direction, very similar to the horror films of like the 30s and 40s going in the 50s and 60s. Like these monster movies stopped having these supernatural origins and they started going more of the sci-fi route because that's what was trendy at the time.
The Children of the Atom, like X-Men.
And Atomic Age,
Spider-Man, radioactive spider, that kind of thing. Yeah. So they just kind of follow the trends, and and you get what you get. But going back to some of the the horror movies for Halloween, wasn't there another one that you wanted to bring up? That's your favorite?
Well,
besides Halloween 3,
the Garfield Halloween special,
well,
but that's a cartoon. Hocus Pocus, Charlie Brown, of course, Great Pumpkin. I mean, there's classics that aren't really that,
Oh, but what about 2020, the movie? Ooh. That's scary. Everyone's making that joke.
Real life right now is
Who needs horror movies this year?
Yeah.
Just turn the TV on. Ah!
Man. There's probably a movie you could probably get the ability to show. It's called Corona Zombies. So basically, they just took this old zombie flick from like the early 80s and they just like redubbed it with voices about, the coronavirus and, how they're the coronavirus task force. And like every now and again, like it'll just like blend it in with like, modern day news footage. So like there's this one transition. It's just great. And Trump's just like, no, it's just a hoax. It's just a myth. Everything's going to be fine in a matter of weeks. And then it just cuts to like zombies eating each other and like ripping out each other. Like it's just like perfectly cut. So it's like this satire on the whole situation. It's phenomenal.
Oh, we'll have to look that one up.
So that Midnight Kid movie, I think it's called The Dark Matter, right?
The Dark Matter. Yeah, that's the name of it. And that came out, I think, like early 2000s.
Yeah, it's interesting. But what about you, man? What about you? What independent movies do you like? I mean, that are horror or Halloween that you like?
Man, I mean, I would, as far as like Halloween movies go, I mean, I always watch, the classics, right? First Friday, First Nightmare. I usually will follow it up with the Dream Warriors, but that's probably about as far as I go with that franchise. Sometimes New Nightmare, it will get my goat, but I don't know. This year I've been trying to focus on a lot of the newer ones. So I think my favorite film of the last few years was Hereditary, as far as horror movies went.
We need to see that.
We need to see that.
Good, huh? That messed up, huh?
It's the thing I like about that movie is that it is a psychological horror movie. Right. So it's a very slow burn. And the thing is you can rewatch that movie and they do a lot of Kubrick stuff. So kind of a spoiler alert, it's a possession kind of movie. Yeah. But like there's just like a scene that like the first time you watch it, it's a kid laying in bed, right? You don't really like understand what's going on. It's just like, seems like it's just like a quiet moment to like lead up to something. And then it doesn't lead up to something. It just cut to the next morning. But it was on like the third viewing of it that I realized that in the shadows up in like the corner of his bedroom is just his mom just sitting there watching him sleep, just like perched up in the ceiling. So it's got like it's got a lot of that like subliminal horror that I really love because, it just adds to the depth to it,
Layered, yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you like Babadook?
Yeah.
I love the Babadook.
That movie's really good.
The ending was very, 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 very like creepy to me. Like she's dancing, but she's, it's something. Oh my God, I thought that was a great scene.
It was just a cool story, neat movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the one movie I will not recommend, it was the same guy who did Hereditary. I thought like, lightning might strike twice. And like some people, they really enjoyed it. From like an overall perspective, I wasn't that big of a fan. Was Midsommar.
Midsommar, yeah. I mean, I heard it was. I want to see it because it's a lot of hype, around it. So
yeah, that's one we still need to see.
Midsommar, it's sitting on the deck there. I mean, we need to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was one. I mean, it's interesting because I don't know. You just knowing what you know about it right now, it's obviously a Wicker Man ripoff. But the thing that is lasting about that movie is that if you read it with the subtext of cult indoctrination, it actually has like a good message because that's slowly what they're doing to these people over the course of it, and similar to the Wicker Man as well. It's just and I'll stick with the original Wicker Man, not the
not remake. The bees, not the bees, not that thing. I know what you're talking about.
No. That was now. See, that's a movie that I'll just put on every now and again just for a laugh because holy shit, that movie is objectively bad.
Yeah, the scene chewing by Nicolas Cage. Here's like off the hook on that one.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, that was that had been Nicolas Cage at one of his worst moments because I don't know, like I feel like that was like right at the point that Nicolas Cage just started taking that huge decline because after that he did like that was probably even after the Ghost Rider series. Those movies were
Oh.
terrible. And then probably the worst movie he ever did was Drive Angry. You know, the one where he's got to like escape the demons, and like
I haven't seen that one yet. Yeah.
Like the thing about that movie is that if it was a Ghost Rider movie, it maybe would have worked, but I don't think they had the rights to do Ghost Rider anymore, so they just turned it into this like supernatural movie. But I mean, I guess it delivers what it promises. Like he drives angry.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with the title. I just haven't seen it yet. Yeah. Nor don't know if I ever will, but who knows? I'm not a Nicolas Cage fan. I mean, he's in some good stuff.
He's had his moments.
He's real hit or miss with stuff. But I like him more than Goldblum. Let's put it that way.
You know, I will say that he has been having a bit of a comeback in the horror genre, because we had talked about Color Out of Space. Highly recommend that one. The other one that he was in that I recommend is Mandy.
I heard about that one. That one looks really good too.
Yeah, we got to see that too.
Yeah, I saw the preview for that one.
Oh man, he just I mean, he's just running around with a chainsaw and an axe, just dumping his face in piles of cocaine. Like, it's a phenomenal movie.
Scarface 2. No.
Oh, jeez.
Pretty much. Yeah, no, that movie's out there, but I don't know. That's just kind of like coming with like that new wave of horror as well. So I guess let me ask you then, while I still have you here, how did you come up with your characters? Because you said that you were originally the daughter of the ghoul, but what made you want to become the mummy?
All right, you got to rewind again.
Okay, so going back, they called it The Daughter of the Ghoul, starring Janet Decay.
Go back even further.
So, okay, well, in 2010, 3 years before the whole Daughter of the Ghoul thing, Lakewood, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, there were a lot of people that were hosting zombie walks.
They probably have them all
like
over
charity
the place.
Zombie walks. Yeah, a lot of different cities would have them.
You donate food or something like that, and they organize a walk around the neighborhood. Everyone dresses. They have people doing makeup there, and they can turn you into a zombie.
You could pay $10 and have someone do your makeup, and the proceeds would go to Harvest for Hunger or one of the charities. And everyone's dressed up like a zombie, so I'm thinking, well, what can I do different that's still undead? I know, I'll be a mummy. So I made a mummy costume just sort of on the fly and showed up there, and didn't really have a name for the character yet. And
that came when you started doing a blog, right, about horror movie reviews, right?
Yeah, that was 2012. So at the time I had a friend that was running a movie review website called Cinema Sarcophagus.
Okay.
And I used the pen name Janet Decay for that, and did that for a little bit, and had some creative differences, so I stopped reviewing for them. And in 2013 is when I auditioned for The Daughter of the Ghoul.
You heard that there was a guy with a show that was called The Daughter of the Ghoul, and Janet was going to explain before I kind of interrupted her, but I just wanted you to kind of tell things in a linear fashion so you understood that this character was created before.
So I've had the character
several years before.
Technically for 10 years. That's when I first made a mummy costume.
So the guy that was putting together the show The Daughter of the Ghoul had a couple of previous hosts, okay, with different characters altogether. His whole idea with Daughter of the Ghoul was the umbrella name, like The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, with Jay Leno, but it was always The Tonight Show.
He wanted other people to help host it too, but
he designed it so no matter if it was a cycling through thing, that he wouldn't have to worry about a particular host.
Before the year that I hosted it, they called it The Daughter of the Ghoul, starring Janet Decay.
Right.
And Grim would show up for some skits.
Yeah, my character goes back to the early 90s. I always have been a huge genre of horror hosting in Cleveland, grew up in Cleveland, and I always wanted to do my own show, so I kind of did. I came up with this character back in the mid-90s, saw a monkey mask, not this one, but in a thrift store, picked it up, and just came up with a weird character. I don't know why I call it Grim Glory, I just did. And with the advent of the video camera back in the early 90s, I just shot my own horror movie specials just for fun.
Videotape.
That's just for fun, videotape. And then later on, I did have a couple episodes show up when I lived in Rhode Island for a little while. They had a public access TV thing. You just submit a tape. I put a couple shows together. They showed at night. Nobody saw them, whatever. And I just always had the character, always wanted to do something with horror hosting. And then when the internet came along, it looked more and more possible to be able to do your own thing, whether you're doing a blog or a show or whatever. You can just kind of come up with your own shtick.
Yeah.
And this one I've always liked. It did get introduced on The Daughter of the Ghoul show before you were on there, my character. And then but nothing got. And my intent was to make a show and it be sort of a brother show to the Daughter of the Ghoul. Like they'd have these like sort of a tie-in, and we would. Because at the time, this guy was just making these shows and putting them on public access.
I have to note that the girls before that were hosting it were just like the niece of, a family friend.
Anyone that would do it.
Just anyone that wanted to be so like they didn't really understand the concept. No. It didn't really gel, and they weren't.
They bailed. I mean, it wasn't for them. And
so I'm technically Cleveland's first horror film hostess.
Yes, especially for the TV version of it. So anyway, so when we got into, so when we met on the set and everything, we just thought, we hit it off personally and we hit it off creatively, and we just thought, let's do this a show together. We don't know what we're going to call it yet until we went to.
So after the show was canceled and we were still doing videos but didn't know what to call the show. This was like October of 2014.
Okay.
We went down to Medina, Ohio. There was this little event, like a trick-or-treat thing for the kids. And I thought, well, let's get some video. We'll dress up. We'll pass out candy. And originally he wanted to get some, put together like a Halloween special.
Yeah, I was putting together a grim, gory Halloween hootenanny.
And get video of some of the decorations and stuff. So we have it on tape somewhere. Some kids were going, "Mommy, monkey," and like pointing at us and "Mommy, monkey." So then later when we're watching that back, I told him, I'm like, that's the name of our show. We're the Mummy and the Monkey.
And it originally was the Mummy and the Monkey show. And then we started doing episodes that we would just shoot and edit, shoot everything, and put on DVD and sometimes go to, public access stations, things like that.
Yeah, just whatever channel or platform would accept us.
But then we got a bug put in there by a friend of ours who was doing streaming. His name is Dino. He and his buddy
from the Late Late Horror Show on YouTube.
Yeah, they do a show called Late Late Horror Show, and Dino and Ted, and they used they told us what program they used. You could do he said you guys should do a live horror host show. I'm like, how are we gonna do that? I don't know how to put a movie, have it stream. But we learned it.
So 2 years ago, we started doing the live shows.
And we call that the Mummy and the Monkey's
Hairy Scary Hangout.
So that's what. So the Hangout's been on for, like we said earlier, like 90 to tomorrow night would be 99 episodes we've done of this show.
As of October 1st of 2020.
Can't believe it. And going towards 100. So
and we will be. Should we mention the other thing?
You could talk about that. Yeah.
Okay. So. October 17th on WUAB Channel 43 in Cleveland, we will be part of the Big Bad Bee movie show. So they have characters Leopold and Lenore hosting it, and then we're going to be on like a little comedy bit for the show.
So back in the day in Cleveland, we had the Big Chuck and Little John show on Friday nights on Channel 8, and on Channel 43 the next day on Saturday there was a show called Superhost that ran from 69 to 89, and it was a pretty popular
he
show.
Would show like Godzilla, King Kong, Three Stooges.
He had a 5-hour show. He had an hour of Three Stooges and then 2 back-to-back horror movies. It went from noon to 4, whatever that's, a 4-hour show. Yeah. And kids would watch it. We all grew up on Superhost, Big Chuck and Little John and the Ghoul. We had like multiple horror hosts in the 70s, 80s in Cleveland. But WUAB was the station. It was a UHF station. That's what Superhost was on. Well, this is the same
So it's the same channel as Superhost used to be on.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun that we're going to be on that channel.
Local TV here hasn't done anything like that for a very long time.
Wow, that's awesome.
So to even have a station contact us, like, showing some interest in this again or wanting to even try it again is cool.
Yeah. So the fellow putting this together, he also has aspirations to do a horror hosting show. His name is Zachariah Durr.
And he interviewed us 2 years ago for CLEweekend.com.
Yeah, so I guess when the opportunity came along on WAB to put together a show, they showed interest in showing something different at the 8 o'clock time slot on Saturday nights.
Yeah, same spot as Svengoolie. So.
Don't worry. He's old top hat, that guy. Just kidding, Svengoolie. Just kidding, Sven. Love him. But people can. But now it's streaming. I mean, it's going to be available on their Roku station. You really don't miss anything anymore. You can watch stuff.
Yeah, you can catch it later on Roku.
But yeah, so he's putting together this show called The Big Bad Bee Movie, which premieres October 17th.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have a little stint there. We actually get to submit some stuff, and they'll play it, and it'll be our foray into broadcast television officially. Well, we did have a stint in
that was
California.
Coffee TV in San Francisco
But
2 years ago. We had a half-hour celebrity interview and a comedy skit show, and they played it after Creature Features, which is
going strong out there still.
Yeah, they're still on TV. They've been on since 1972, but they have different hosts now.
But it's a different thing for us to be on local broadcasts. I mean,
yeah.
that's
but to be on a station in your own city, it's like, oh, cool, yay!
It means a lot to us. So yeah.
I was gonna say, if you're gonna be, on if you're gonna be any level of famous, like local TV famous is the way to go, because you're gonna have those diehard fans, and you really have a direct way that you can influence and help the community as well.
Right. Was I leaning off set all this time too much? I'm sorry. Jeez.
I don't know.
You should have reeled me in if I was off.
We were moving around here and there, I didn't say anything.
I'm spastic. Sorry.
Well, no, that's good to go. So you said that one's going to be October 17th, and then I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you said that same week was going to be your 100th episode that Friday, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So the Friday before October, Friday, October 16th is our episode 100 of the Mummy and the Monkeys Hairy Scary Hangout, and it's on our Facebook. You can watch all the videos on our Facebook page.
That's right, and we'll be showing children shouldn't play with dead things. Oh.
Yeah, that was fans voted in, and that's what they wanted to watch.
Yeah, we actually let the fans vote between, because we didn't when we showed Plan 9 from Outer Space and Children for the first time on our show, we didn't add sound effects or any drop-ins. So we thought we would let them choose between which one they want to see.
And they
for
voted
the 100th episode. Children overwhelmingly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, one thing I want to point out as well, folks, is that, if you do just join their streams, that isn't the only thing that's very interactive about their show. You can chat with them. You can talk with them. It's almost like you're watching a movie with a group of people. And that's the thing I love about these live streams that folks are doing. It really brings a sense of community to when we, are really just kind of stuck in our houses, can't do too much.
Yeah, and it's funny too. You mentioned that because they crack us up.
The comments are hilarious. We'll be playing the movie and we're sitting here getting refills on our drinks or whatever, and I'm looking and I'm like,
and these
just laughing,
And the people in the chats, I mean, they have their own sort of inside jokes in between them. They don't even really know each other, personally, but just in the chat.
Yeah.
And they got jokes will start flying between them, like, this one's gonna win again tonight. And we do giveaways on our show too. We give little prizes away. And, so it's a lot of fun. We just try to have a lot of fun with it. It's not scripted, and you can tell that when you watch it. We're just
I'll put together notes of what we want to talk about, but there's no real script. We just
I'd like to say I fly by the seat of my pants, but I don't wear pants when I do the show. No, I have to.
Well, now
I have to now.
Yeah, now you have to wear pants.
Doggone it.
Awesome. So that'll be October 16th, and that'll be on the YouTube channel as well as the live stream on Facebook, correct?
Well, we do two. Okay, we didn't explain the whole breakdown.
Yeah, on Friday nights we host the Mummy and the Monkeys Hairy Scary Hangout on our Facebook fan page.
Only on Facebook.
Only on Facebook right now, where we host the movie with the sound effects and everything. Yeah. After that show's wrapped up at midnight, we jump on over to YouTube for the Hairy Scary Hangover.
Oh, baby.
And we don't really show movies on YouTube because with YouTube it gets kind of weird with people claiming they own.
Been there, done that. It's just really rough on YouTube.
That they own material.
Even with public domain
content. So we'll just talk about different topics.
Yeah, so we come up with a topic or do a rundown of what you just watched. Like a wrap-up show a little bit, but it's more topical. And
people ask us stuff and it's interactive.
Who knows where it goes. And we do that for an hour or so and then call it a night. But
pretty much we do that until we get too tired.
which is about 5 minutes into the show.
Sometimes 1 in the morning, 1:30 in the morning.
It's a lot of fun though. But but again, we get a decent crowd there that likes to hang out. But it's just a lot of fun. It's just a throwback to what we grew up with. And like what you say all the time,
what's old can be cool again.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, folks? You should definitely go over to their Facebook page, The Mummy and the Monkey, and give them a like, and go to their YouTube page, The Mummy and the Monkey. Give them a subscribe because, horror hosting is an American tradition. From Zachary to Joe Bob Briggs, it has always been a part of it's definitely been a part of my childhood. Like I couldn't imagine how many different movies I wouldn't have been exposed to if it wasn't for, Svengoolie, Monster Vision. I mean, it really is, it really is something that kind of resonates, generationally, but the thing that makes your guys' show so special is that you actually have the ability to watch it with a group of people and interact with it. And, if it's one thing that's going to bring it back, it's going to be that fan interaction for sure.
Yeah, that's what we think too.
Cool, thank you.
We love doing this so far, and we'll just keep doing it till I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we enjoy it, and and with all the weird stuff that's been going on this year, it's kind of like therapy for us too, and the fans watching.
We were ahead of the game.
Yeah.
But for you guys watching out there, give Jimmy's channel, a thumbs up, give it a subscribe, and click the little bell for updates.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you again for coming on the show. It was a pleasure to nerd out about some horror movies and off topic, some superheroes as well with you guys. Hopefully, once things get back up and moving, I'll be able to see you guys around the con scene.
Yeah, we miss it so much. Yeah,
we do.
This weekend would have been Cinema Wasteland in Cleveland, or in Strongsville, right?
Yeah, Cleveland area. So yeah, we miss being out and about like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what else, folks? The one thing I'm definitely going to plug for them, you want to go to their website, www.themummyandthemonkey.com, because they have a bunch of new merchandise available. They have hoodies, they have sweatshirts, they have t-shirts, and from what I understand, you actually have action figures now.
Sort of, kind of, yeah, like little in-action figures. They're like more like statuesque, but they're cool.
They're hand-painted resin figures through Phoenix Comics and Toys, and they have their own Etsy store. And we should have all the links on our social media and website.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, folks. Give them a like, give them a subscribe. Check out the website because we are out of here.
See you later, alligators.
Good night. Good night.